Good morning, Lifeboat. I just made a mess. Just spilled coffee on my desk. So I know we just started, but give me just a second. I need a thing. I need a thing to wipe things with. You know, if I was a video game character, my super move would be spilling coffee on my stuff. I have something to clean it with, like right here, because it happens so often. Poor Captain. Just kidding. It's fine. No big deal. All right. What's going on, y'all? Hello, YouTube. You're on the Lifeboat. This is Captain Calhoun speaking. How is everybody today? Millie the Dandelion. Hello, hello. Kathy Ann, Charlie Mullins, TKK. Much love to Spanx and everyone on the boat. Thanks, Anna. I appreciate you. Much love. Much love to all the crew out there. I live for now. Hello, hello. Real quick before I get deep into this show and this roll call, let's get some ones up for Shannon, for REA, and anyone else out there that could use them. Martha Harn-Bostel, good to see ya. Deidre Gore, hello, hello. Dee Dee Razzle Dazzle, Coach Lisa E. What is going on, people? I'm happy you're here. Carry on, drive safe, always a pleasure. I'm glad Shannon Smith's back. I'm very grateful. She's feeling better. We were worried. We were putting up all the ones yesterday. RSM, hello, hello. Scrolling. I think I got everyone. I think I got them. Tommy Bird, I see you. Good morning, Lifeboat. Heck yeah, dude. Welcome in. Welcome. All right, we are caught up. I'm going to have to practice. The chat has been moving quite fast lately. I'm going to have to really practice if I'm going to be on it. Jane Aldrich, what is going on? Welcome in. Firing that Care Bear love, says Millie the Dandelion, and robust magical wishes to everyone who's needing them, and even if you think you don't. Oh, I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Body Illusion, hello. Yeah, guys, we're going to talk about a classic today, an oldie but a goodie. We're going to talk about harm reduction. And this is what separates us from other recovery outlets. This is what makes us different. In the 12-step model, if you're doing harm reduction, you're failing. In the 12-step model, you're either abstinent or you're not. You know what I mean? And that's not something that we subscribe to. We subscribe to doing better than we did yesterday. That's really what it comes down to. You know what I mean? And is that enough? That's up to you. That's not something that I can say yay or nay on. It's up to you, right? But if we're doing better than we did yesterday, we're pretty happy about it. We're not really, obviously, in a perfect world, probably abstinence is the best, right? But again, only you can decide this for yourself. We are big advocates of harm reduction here, especially when the statistics are laid out the way that they are. We're losing the fight, so it's time to try some new things. It's time to switch it up. It's time to, fearlessly move into the future, into the present. And we're going to do that with harm reduction. The harm reduction model, pretty simple, pretty darn simple. Where's my notes? Harm reduction meaning reducing the harm, right? Doing a little better. Baby steps. This aligns very much with what has worked for me, aka the baby steps. Real quick, I saw Scooby Lee. Good to see you. Tina Marie. Hello. All right. Love seeing you too, Body Illusion. Jimena, hello. Hey, Dad. What is going on? Admiral's lurking. All right. Let's not disappoint, huh? So I've been having lots of emails about Kratom and about other stuff, and I think that's wonderful. I want to stress that we're an anti-addiction channel, not an anti-drug channel. If we traded dope for Kratom, that's a big win. If you traded sticking a needle in your arm for smoking a little bit of pot, that's a big win. If you traded smoking crack for pretty much anything, it's probably a big win. And I mean, don't take that one too seriously, right? We definitely want to reduce the harm, right? But I mean, I was just making a joke on how absolutely terrible crack cocaine is. But that being said, I'd also like to encourage those that have experience but haven't spoken up with these issues, with these things, with these drugs, with harm reduction itself, to come forth and share your experience. We are each other's resources. This is also a peer support group, right? We come here to see our friends, to share information, to talk about stuff, whether it's, how our day went, what's been going on, or, whether it's a success story, an experience that we had. Maybe somebody can learn what to do, what not to do based on your experience, based on the path that you have walked. Tommy Stig Social Club, what is going on, my good buddy? Good to see you. For those of you that are new to the channel, Tommy Stiggs is a good friend of ours. He's got his own little channel and does coffee in the mornings, has conversations. And we are very much aligned on a lot of things. So yeah, make sure to go over and say hello to Tommy Stiggs, drop a like, tell him how you feel, tell him we sent you. Good to see you, Tommy. Much appreciated. And I lost my place. I do that to myself. I'll call the audible, and then I'll forget what I was talking about. These notes look to be specific from a show. I'm going to delete them. In the big picture, what we're dealing with is about improving in small ways, minimizing negative consequences, right? Always stepping up. And also, this allows us to meet people where they are. Especially in recovery, you never know. Someone might be really down bad. Someone might just be coming off of a relapse, right? They've had some time, but now, they're back, they're back in the dumps or something. They just slipped up. You never know where someone's going to be at. So we try to meet people where they are, right? The harm reduction model helps us not turn people away, right? And we're not shaming people. If there's someone in here that's loaded right now, that's a good thing. They're in the right place. Does that make sense? We're not running anybody off. As long as you're willing, right? As long as you're here hanging out, doing the thing. That being said, we do axe trolls without any questions. But minimizing negative consequences, right? We want to meet people where they are. Approach without moral judgment. People and their behaviors don't need to be labeled as good or bad. They are. They just are. People are doing their best. They're trying their best. Your best might not be very good, right? Today's best is different from yesterday's, and it's definitely unique from tomorrow's. But I am wholeheartedly a believer that people are always trying their best. If everything was right in their world, they wouldn't be acting so poorly. That's another thing I like to say a lot. It helps me stay humble and keep things in perspective. Because I don't think anyone wakes up in the morning and says, today I'm going to be a dick. Today I'm going to make those people mad. I don't think that's really, a desire upon waking in the morning for most people. I think that when people's actions reflect that kind of behavior, it's because, it's based on a root of negative emotions or of some sort of trauma or baggage that they're carrying around. And, that's not mine to deal with, but recognizing that they have something going on, and that's probably why they're acting poorly, really helps me not be a dick, really helps me be nice, really helps me in my response to such negative behavior, right? I would love to do some collaboration in the future, Tommy. That would be great. Love your channel. We always recommend it in my lives. I appreciate you, man. The next time I'm up a little extra early, I'm going to come over and hang out and make sure to say something. Blessings to all in chat. I appreciate you, man. What a nice thing to say. Shannon Smith says, as a flight attendant, people think I live to make their lives hell. I apparently control the weather. I mean, you're just that nice face on the plane that can help with stuff. I don't know why people would get that idea, Deaudrey says, today my best is lousy, but I got one constructive thing done, and that will have to be okay. Start fresh tomorrow. And I tell you what, it is okay, It is okay. You get to start fresh tomorrow, right? You get that opportunity every day, right? And recognizing this, I think, is a cool thing. Today might not be the best, right? But I'm going to do my best. Heck yeah. I like that, Deaudrey. We're going to burn through this topic so fast, we're going to have to hang out for a while. You know what I have written in my notes? I need to delete this. It says, B word about advertisements for a bit. I wrote in my notes, complain about advertisements. I don't know what I was thinking that day. We're going to delete that because I don't know why I'm complaining about advertisements. I guess I don't like ads. That's probably why. I was probably doing research for this when I was making these notes and a bunch of ads were coming up and I was like, let's just get to the good part. Acknowledge that we are complicated and that addiction is complicated and lots of things influence this road, this path. There are many, many factors. Many factors. So to think that we're just going to waltz through and figure it out, I think is a fallacy. I think that's folly. And to think that we can just be abstinent or not, I think is also limited thinking. I think we're limiting ourselves with those beliefs. Obviously, again, I said this before, I'll say it again. Abstinence is probably your best bet with a lot of these substances, with a lot of the stuff that we're talking about recovering from. But also, again, if you traded a needle for some weed, if you traded the crack pipe for, I don't know, a little kratom or something, like I'm obviously just mixing and matching here, right? But I think that harm reduction is a very real concept. I think it can be a very effective model. And it really does put the responsibility in your hands, right? You have to decide. You have to be the one to judge. Do you want to keep living like this? I know the answer is no. I know you don't want to live like this. You know what I mean? And when I say like this, if you're in your active addiction, right? Or maybe we're not talking about substances, right? Maybe we're talking about overeating or, whatever it is, gambling, right? Video game addiction. There's all kinds of stuff. Whatever it is, I'm sure you don't want to continue living that way, right? Obviously, if you did, what we have to say probably isn't very valuable, We're quitters over here. In fact, my dad is a big fan of the saying, never quit quitting, which was funny. I remember when I was, I want to say like 8 or 9, I did karate. I told my dad that I wanted to quit, and he was like, son, we're not quitters. A couple weeks later, I quit. I don't remember how it went down. I think that we ended up moving to Nevada shortly after that. So I think that it had a lot more to do with my parents running from their problems than us being quitters or not. But I tell you what, I think about that moment a lot. Let's do a little anecdote, a little side story. I really enjoyed doing karate. I was very young, but somehow, and I don't know, was I actually a brown belt, or was it just like when everybody gets a trophy kind of thing? Like, I have a hard time believing that I was a young brown belt. You know what I mean? Which is that is the case. I was a 2nd degree brown belt. Well, it must have been like 10 or something. My dad would know. And from what I understand, he still has my gi and my belt, or he did at one time before one of the prison stints. So maybe they're gone now, but who knows? Anyways, that being said, I wonder sometimes the validity of my rank. Can a kid that young, is it a different system? My sensei did tell me, he said, you can't test for the black belt until you've been with the dojo for 5 years. And that's when I quit. And it's interesting. My sensei gave me his brown belt from when he was a child. So he gave me something sentimental, and then I left. I think that probably hurt his feelings. That being said, let's get back to some sweet information. Carry On says, hanging out in my hometown with my daughters and extended family. I am loving it. Shannon Smith asks, you don't believe in yourself? I definitely do. Sometimes it takes a little bit of practice, but I definitely believe in me. Tommy Bird says, harm reduction is great, but for me, I literally stayed stagnant for probably 3 years, telling myself I'm better than yesterday. Finally, I had to ask, is your life still unmanageable today? And that may be how it goes down, Tommy. At the end of the day, I can't make anyone get sober anyways, right? At the end of the day, there's only the illusion that um, anyone has power but yourself over your stuff. You know what I mean? Like, maybe this is just a roundabout way of, learning for yourself that you do need to be the one to decide, right? Um, at the end of the day, no matter what method we take, I think that is a bridge that needs to be crossed for every single one of us. We're going to have to really, really understand in the core of our beings that we get to decide. Like, we are in charge of whether or not this works out. And it's going to be one of the most difficult things you've ever done. You know what I mean? So, like, we really, really, really got to want it. We really, really, really got to, you said finally I had to ask, is my life still unmanageable? We've got to really, really, really want to have a manageable life. We've got to, that part right there has to really sink in. So I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, Tommy, because you did end up where you are now, right? You got to the solution. And I think that we all have to walk our own path in one way or another, right? We don't necessarily have to do it alone, but this decision is definitely something that's made by oneself, right? That is like asking yourself, am I still unmanageable? Am I stagnating? Is this the life that I want to keep leaving? That's something that can only be done alone, right? I mean, you're not alone, but what I'm saying is, like, nobody can do that for you, right? They can be there with you when you do so. But this is a very, thank you for sharing this, Tommy. This is a very, very important aspect of the whole deal. No matter what method we take, whether it's harm reduction, whether it's the 12-step, whether it's your own thing, whatever the case is, we're going to have to decide for ourselves what we want. Is what we have now not what we want, right? Do I want to keep living like this? And if not, how do I want to live? What changes do I want to make? And then we're going to have to go ahead and make those changes ourselves. There is a large element of autonomy. And when we're dealing with substances, things that change the way we view the world, things that change the way our brain works, literally changing the way that we operate, right? I think it's extra, extra important to understand that we are going to have to be the ones to pull the trigger, right? No one's going to kick us in the pants so hard that it's going to send us into sobriety. You know what I mean? It just doesn't work like that. We're going to have to take the power into our own hands and make these changes for ourselves. We're going to have to craft the life that we want for ourselves. What do you think about that, huh? 18 minutes in and I feel like I've done a couple shows. All right, we're going to go through and talk to folks now. I have said quite enough for the moment. Cooking with grandma, keeping it in the moment is my version of harm reduction, with a side of let not my thoughts destroy my peace of mind. I like that a lot. I definitely like that a lot. Tina Marie says, I think recognizing and dealing with lies to myself was a huge hurdle to jump for me. I had to stop believing my own BS. I tell you what, the lies we tell ourselves are the hardest to see through. When I learned that, it was paradigm shifting. It was mold breaking for sure. Hair in my mouth. Let's go. Abnormal psychology later. What does that mean? Abnormal psychology, like an abnormal question about psychology? Robin Miners, I see you. Welcome in. Good morning, Robin. I'm having some sounds that are distracting me, even with the headphones in today. It's probably because I'm just being really loud. I am being extra loud this morning, but whatever, dude. The boat ain't gonna sail itself, you know? Yeah, we have to be willing to admit, Martha, it's unfortunate We can't save anybody, which is the really sad thing. They have to save themselves. We can show them the way, we can give them a helping hand, but they literally have to save themselves, right? It's the hardest part about the whole thing. Like, you probably can see clearer than the ones close to you because you're probably, not in a different headspace, so to speak. But that doesn't help a whole lot if they can't make the decision for themselves. If they can't see their way out and choose that for themselves, there's not a whole lot we can do. Becky USA, driving and listening. Please drive safe. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Abnormal psychological profiles. So like spicy brain, ADHD and whatnot. Not today, Audrey. I do have the music a little bit loud, so I can't hear exactly the nature of what's going on. But I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but every single one of them, down, left, and right, were all at the same time doing it. It was pretty crazy. Izzy E, good morning, the wonderful Izzy E. Glad you're here. I hope this message finds you well. How are these sinuses doing? We put some ones up for you earlier. We're going to do it again. I've got big old blue jays squawking out his opinions on today's subject. I love that. I have a crow or a raven. I don't know which one. I guess I'll have to check the size, but there's a big black bird out there that likes to weigh in the morning sometimes. I do have water. That's correct. Pretty stoked on it. Cheapsy Soul, good to see you. So thankful to you and your dad, dude. It's our pleasure. We do what we can. If we weren't doing this, I don't know what the heck we'd be doing. Yeah, I'm very grateful for the boat as well. I have to say, it gave me purpose, which is something I sorely needed, and I did not even know that I sorely needed it. Yeah, I tell you what, I have to ignore it. It's like I have to make a decision up front. Like I can't care about this, because if I do care, it just tears me up, dude. And then I start taking actions that I regret later, or that will make my situation spicier, and I don't want that. Izzy E says, still sick, but the lawn isn't going to cut itself. So it's suck it up and get her done Friday. Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that, Izzy. I hope you find some peace and some relaxation later with a nice fresh cut lawn. I will say I'm a little jealous. I wish I had a lawn to cut, Izzy. I'm not trying to guilt you into being grateful or anything, but I'm pretty stoked you have a lawn to cut. That's pretty cool. I wish you felt better. I'll say that. Sames, don't know where I'd be without you guys. Wow. I feel like I need to get back to some information before I just start melting. This is such an interesting concept, Martha. Deal is 20 plus years later, has a great life, yet that success makes admitting almost impossible. I think that resting on one's laurels is a very sneaky thing. I think that it's a phenomenon that happens when we have some time under our belt, when we get removed enough, a certain removedness from our addiction, from the dark places that we've been. We seem to forget how easy it is to slide and fall into them. We seem to forget exactly how we righted the ship. We seem to forget the exact nature of the disease, it seems. In this last part, yet that success makes admitting almost impossible. I don't know why this happens, but it does seem to happen. It seems to be quite a human response after so much time spent being sober. I've noticed that it's very easy to slip back into old ways. It's very easy the way I'm viewing things is just changing a little bit, just enough to kind of slide back into bad habits. And then also be blinded by your own hubris. You can't even see that you're sliding. And this happens frequently. This is a very frequent occurrence. Don't rest on your laurels. Always be vigilant. I don't know how to stop this from happening in oneself other than just being present in the moment and being willing to admit that you're wrong and that maybe you could do a little better. I don't know I don't know what else to say on that subject, but this is something that is bound to happen. If not to you, to someone close to you. That's how frequently this happens. So watch out, for sure. Watch out. Success can be a killer. Success can totally be a killer. We want success, right? But also we want to, we don't want it to be the end of us. We want it to be the beginning. Being the good addict that I am, I hear harm reduction and think, can you guys identify? I don't exactly know what you're saying. I'm not entirely sure I'm picking up what you're laying down, Grandma. Lol, Shannon says you can come cut my lawn. That's so funny. Hey, Matrix Rabbit, what's going on? All right, let's see what's left in these notes. We're getting pretty close to the bottom of it. What am I trying to say? So harm reduction can be maybe similar to like practical intervention, right? It may not be practical to just be abstinent. I mean, obviously that's ideal, right? When they talk about hitting a rock bottom, that's kind of what we're talking about. You hit a rock bottom and then you go cold turkey kind of deal, right? But a practical intervention, think about that. Practical, all right, it's practical, it's realistic, right? Intervention. I'm going to get in between you and what you want to stop doing or what you need to stop doing, right? For your health, for that matter. It's not dope. It's just scratching the same itch, right? Just exercise caution, right? When we're doing the harm reduction method, it's also like Tommy Bird brought up earlier. It's real easy to be complacent. It's really easy to just be like, you know what? I think this is a good plateau to be on. I'm going to stagnate here. Obviously, I wouldn't choose to stagnate. It's not like I would be thinking in those terms, but you might look back and realize that you've been stagnating for a while. And I think it's very easy to do that with this model as well. So it's not perfect. It's not a perfect model. But that being said, it's also largely unstudied, right? We're kind of pioneering the deal. And we're not alone. There are other places and people that believe in this method that are also practicing it. Oh, I think this was about kratom. Kratom's largely unstudied in comparison to other chemicals in plants and medicine. Interesting. I also, the harm reduction model is also very largely unstudied. But this method is adaptable. One size fits all doesn't work here, right? But that's okay, because as far as harm reduction is concerned, it's quite a general idea, right? Just a little better than I did yesterday. Anybody can fit into this model. Hit that like, subscribe, and the bell for notifications if you like what we do here. It certainly makes a difference. Sometimes I wonder why I write things in my notes. So that's what I have on harm reduction. Also, yesterday night, my dad had a show, and it went a little over an hour. But I wanted to open up to questions about what was I supposed to say? Questions about dissociatives in a clinical setting, right? Trip drugs, clinical uses there. So let's a little background. They are using predominantly MDMA and psilocybin in clinical settings, as well as ketamine, which is interesting, right? There's a laundry list of drugs that have been used in this way clinically over the years, right? They've used acid, they've used DMT, they've used dextromethorphan, they've used a lot in this setting. But today, especially in the 70s, they made most of the stuff illegal, highly illegal, at least in our country. They are now coming around to, in a clinical setting, trying ketamine, trying clinical applications of psilocybin, as well as in some places ecstasy. So I wanted to open up the chat to questions of this nature about dissociatives in a clinical setting. I know that there was a lot going on last night when my dad shut it down. So I wanted to make sure I gave y'all an opportunity. I know it's obviously a fraction of the people that were there, but that's what you get for showing up today. I'm going to answer questions based on that topic. So let her rip. I'm here. I'm going to get some more coffee while y'all get your questions in there, and it'll be great. It'll be so good. Yeah, poor Matthew Perry. My heart goes out to him. I told my dad, I was like, Dad, if I ever get that famous, I'm not going to have any handlers. There's going to be no friends that are employees. There's going to be none of that crap. Like, this is a travesty. I'm not going to have anybody around me, period. Even like without being famous, like just having people around me that don't love me is not something I want ever. You know what I mean? So there's that. Poor Matt Perry, though, for sure. Our very own Tara Smiling, who I haven't seen in a very long time, but I know she exists. Because I know she exists, but she's doing the ketamine treatment and she speaks quite highly of it. Gypsy Solo says, question, are you aware of any rebound symptoms following clinical treatment with ketamine? So from what I understand, I don't know if this is the way you're using rebound, but I think it is. From what I understand, there is quite a bit of recoup time afterwards. Tara specifically has told me that she feels quite drained depending on the dosage. She does one in clinic and then like one out clinic. I don't know exactly the pattern, but sometimes she goes in and sometimes she does at-home treatment, right? The at-home treatment, I can't remember which one is which. I think the clinical, the one where she goes in, is more potent, like it's just a higher milligram. When she does the higher milligram, it does have rebound symptoms of depression, anxiety, PTSD. So as far as I know, I no. But again, I mean, this is, there's clinical research being done now, right? So the information is now coming out. From what I understand, there's not a whole lot of that, but there is some recharge time, some recoup time. And there might be more information that comes out as we do more clinical studies, right? But as of right now, the information there doesn't seem to be any of that. But also, I will say, if you take something once or twice, you do something for a month or for a few months, as opposed to doing something for a very long extended period of time, let's say for maybe you're doing ketamine treatment for years, you're going to have a lot different side effects. You're going to have it's going to affect you a lot differently over periods of time, I think. So the longer we do clinical trials, I think the better as far as receiving information on how this is going to interact with people on a long-term basis. Wow, I said a mouthful. Thank you for asking that question, Jeepsy. That's a great question. I feel bad for Matt Perry and his family. Putting a light on it. Yeah, I mean, Michael Jackson, there's others. This is something that keeps happening. Heath Ledger. To us, it's a spectacle, right? It didn't touch our families, but it could. It definitely could. I think that real change is enacted with lots of joined voices. Have a great day, Ben. Much love, brother. I am not sure, Ben. It might be a question for Tara. I imagine they ingest it. Trying to picture Tara Smiling going into the clinic and then getting like an IV. I feel like that's not how it goes. I'm not educated on this subject. I've never I shouldn't say that. I am educated on this subject, but I've never experienced it myself. I've done ketamine, but not clinically, right? So as far as the clinical aspect goes, I don't have experience, but there are people around me that are doing it. It's very, very popular on the streets, ketamine, especially in like the hippie scene and the hippie crowd. Ketamine is very popular. They call it hippie crack, actually, on the streets. That's what they call it. Reading. Helena Flocka Swan Boat. Still love your name. I did a week-long ketamine infusion for CRPS nerve pain about 15 years ago. Wow, that was a long time ago. I didn't find there was much recoup time, about 2 weeks, but the reduction in pain was quite minimal and only lasted 2 months. Interesting. Lots of information there. I wonder what dose that was, and I wonder a lot of things. Especially, it was like 15 years ago. That's so interesting. Well, I'm glad you're here, Helena. Thank you for sharing that. And real quick, I don't know if this is easy to answer in text, but is it Helena or Helena? I don't know how you possibly answer that in text, but we're going to throw you that challenge. Well, the good news is, Gypsy, they're going to do quite a bit of time in prison. Quite a bit of time. I think I saw 15 years. I think I saw 25 years for one of them. They're going to be put away for a while. Yeah, how about psilocybin treatment? Are you asking me? The hallucinations during the infusions were so distressing and exhausting, I wouldn't want to do it again. I've definitely heard some things about ketamine that don't sound comfortable at all. Like the whole K-hole thing doesn't seem fun. Ketamine is IV. Okay, there you have it, folks. Shannon has spoken. She has experienced this. Also a nasal spray. Interesting. Kathy Kewen, after a decades-long meth addiction, why do doctors refuse to prescribe me a stimulant? It obviously worked for me. Well, I don't think that's how they see it, Kathy. I think that they see potential abuse in you, so they don't want to prescribe something that you could abuse. That's probably what's going on. But you probably know that. Ketamine is given as an IV drip. The mighty Kristen Melinda, everybody. An intramuscular injection or nasal spray clinically. Millie, they probably grow wild. You just got to be careful. You didn't hear it from me. There's a way to identify which ones are safe to eat and which are not, but I don't think that I should provide that information here. I feel like that would be unbecoming of a boat captain. Well, this is a great opportunity to segue into something else harm reduction related. I'm not against trip drugs. I don't necessarily think if you're trying to put your life back together that taking your mind apart is the best way to go about it, right? That's my opinion. I've done a lot of taking my mind apart. Sometimes it's harder than other times to put it back together. You know what I mean? Especially when I've been breaking my body and mind down for a long time, smoking crack and whatnot, right? That being said, I don't think that these kinds of drugs are abusable. Ketamine, maybe. The only reason I say that is because the amount of ketamine that is done on the low in the hippie scene, in the burner scene, is astounding, the amount of it. So I think that it's obviously being abused. But the other stuff like acid and mushrooms and this and that, I think it's very hard to abuse. You can't do acid multiple days in a row. Your body just won't do it. Your body just won't trip. Same with mushrooms. You can't consistently get the same effects by eating them. So that being said, I think it's very difficult to abuse these drugs. I'm not against trip drugs. Again, I think taking your mind apart is a fucking terrible way, pardon my language. I think it's a terrible way to put your life together. But I'm not gonna I have nothing against these drugs. In fact, I think they can be quite beneficial under certain circumstances. Helena, Flock of Swans, thank you so much for your unending support. Day 2 and 3, each blink, it looked like it switched between day and night. Really freaked me out. Bad. Name is said Helena. Okay. Am I saying that right? I feel like I've never said that name that way. Helena? Because I'm down. Just give me a yay or a nay. I mean, I hope I'm not giving you trouble. I just want to say your name right. I swear, I just want to say it right. Gypsy Soul, thank you so much. Hippo character throwing a blazing uppercut. I have to see this. Oh, it's over here. Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you for that, Gypsy Soul. There was another one. I get that, but isn't it about harm reduction? Yes. Let me refer to your earlier comment because I forgot what it was. So, Kathy, I don't think so. Harm reduction isn't a model that everyone subscribes to. That's something that we're really about. Doctors aren't really into it. It's not a, and maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know if doctors are into it or not, but I assume that this doctor is not on the harm reduction train. And from the doctor's perspective, giving an ex-meth addict stimulants seems like a mistake. I feel like that's pretty easy to understand. You know what I mean? Especially from, like, picture it from the mind of someone that's never done meth, right? From someone that doesn't understand addiction, which is most likely who this doctor is, someone that doesn't understand addiction, right? They understand clinical this and that. They don't understand addiction. I could almost guarantee it. Unless they've experienced it in their life or with their loved ones, they have no idea, right? So that being said, it's terrifying for them to give you a stimulant. You've got to understand, right? And also, that being said, if that's what you're looking for, you might want to change your plan. You know, and when you say harm reduction, are you currently using? You know what I mean? Are you trying to step down onto something else? I think that that's probably a difficult thing to achieve. Most stimulants you need a prescription for. So you're going to need a doctor to work with you on that, which I think is going to be very, very difficult to get a doctor to like support that kind of harm reduction. I don't know if that is a plan that is going to pan out, you know, and I'm not saying that I don't want it. I want the best for you. You know, I want things to pan out. I just, I have a hard time seeing that working. But do I have something productive to tell you? I'm trying to think what I would suggest. Stepping down substances is one way to reduce harm. Stepping down amounts is another way. There are multiple dimensions of ways you can harm reduce. I know it probably is a lot more appealing to step down substances, right? Because then you're still getting what your body is screaming for. But to really shift your situation, I think that you're going to need more harm reduction than that. And I'm not saying you specifically. I just mean in general, just in most situations. I don't think that stepping down is the end of the road. You know what I mean? Then you end up like Tommy Bird was saying, stagnating for 3 years, right? Stepping down stimulant substances is a great thing, but I don't think that we stop here, right? I don't know. And you're not saying that you are going to stop there, but I just felt like it was important to make that point. It's interesting. It's very curious. I think you're going to, again, have a hard time getting a doctor to cooperate with that. All right. That makes a lot of sense, Flick. I'm not going to read that one out loud. I just feel like it's bad form. But I mean, if I put myself in your shoes, I feel like I wouldn't be able to do that either. It helps for months. Wow. That's really cool. Body illusion. This is the Irish way. Okay, I hear you. Lacey Silver, I see you. I meant to say hello, but I must have been on a montage, on a rampage. Oop, I almost did that on stream. Do you guys see that? Nobody saw anything. Well, guys, we have hit a wall, sort of, so to speak. I have also had shared hallucinations, Tommy Bird. Quite an interesting phenomenon. If you try to break it down and explain it scientifically, it's quite difficult. Quite difficult to explain how or why such a thing would happen, unless we're like picking up signals from each other, like telepathically or something. I don't know. Super strange, but I've definitely experienced this myself as well. So y'all had gel tabs too. That's interesting. I haven't thought of gel tabs in over a year. Probably more than that. We used to do quite a bit of these things. We used to do a lot of these. A friend of mine and I used to get together, and we used to work together too. On Fridays, we would get together at his place, and we would just get hammered and eat a bunch of gel tabs, and then play Borderlands. Which I don't know if anyone's familiar with the video game Borderlands, but the way the animation style is like very strange. It's kind of like comic booky, but not. It's also like kind of regular. And then there's lots of colors. There's lots of, especially in the, I think it was the pre-sequel that was like Borderlands 2.5. Technically, it was, that one was like in space, like on a moon or something. So there was lots of vivid, weird colors and stuff. And we would just trip out and see how far we could get in Borderlands without not really being able to see anything. Because with all the colors and stuff, everything just kind of blended together. And we would just play the crap out of this game like little idiots. That was something we used to do. Blast from the past. Time to get ready for work. I felt your prayers from the hospital. Thanks to you all. Much love, Shannon. I hope you have a great day. Mary Jones, good to see you. Sweet. I'm so glad to hear she arrived safely. Enjoy your breakfast and send her my best. Send her our best. LSD scares the what's it out of me, and for good reason. You know, I wouldn't say it's inherently dangerous, but just the fact that you're deconstructing your consciousness is scary. You know what I mean? 10 o'clock canceled. Guess I'm hanging with y'all. Heck yeah, Kristen. We love that. I am going to get out of here in a sec, but I feel like there's a reason for me to be here for another little bit. I'm feeling it in the air, in the ether. Ben, did you check out that song? You know, when thinking about my past drug use, I feel lucky to be alive. I feel lucky to be sane. I was the kind of guy that I would take gel tabs and then I would take mushrooms and I would do some ketamine while I'm drinking tequila, you know, smoking the whole time. This is the kind of weekends that I would go do, you know, do some cocaine and then do just whatever you've got so I can do what I've got alone later. Like that's the kind of partier I was. It was rough. I was on all kinds of different amalgamations of concoctions of this, of that, of whatever. I was playing Russian roulette for many, many years, and somehow I came out on top. Somehow I made it. But when I think about it, it's very, very hard to see that I made it. It's very, very hard to like. I would never have thought that I was going to come out, and I don't want to say unscathed because who knows, right? I've probably lost something along the way, right? But I didn't think that I was going to be sharp. I didn't think that I thought that I had brain deaded myself. I'm really glad that's not the case. I'm really, really, really glad that's not the case, guys. Yeah, dude, paused halfway in. Cool. All right. Woke me up pretty good. Yeah, I bet. That was their slow song. They're from Glendale, I think, that band. There we go. I can always tell which song on the album it is. I just skip through until I hear it because it's so slow. Haven't seen any gel tabs in decades. Well, that's probably because you changed your life. You know what I mean? You're not really running in those circles anymore, big dog, which is a good thing, But Sid was always rare in my area. Paper a few times in the years, but usually was crude. Not sure if I'd do it these days or not. Possibly right setting. I hear that. Where I come from, it is quite plentiful. I could have back in the day. I would get liquid. I would get blotter. I would get gel tabs. This, that, the other. I've taken liquid and dropped it myself onto candy. I've been here. I've done that, and hallucinogens were definitely a really big deal in my circle. In fact, I remember buying from people that claimed to be dead family. I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? To me, that meant really good stuff. You know what I mean? But I'm sure it means a whole lot more to them. There was a whole lot of that going on. I feel like I'm telling war stories, and that's not what I ever want to do. I don't ever want to tell a story about my time using in a glorifying light. That's never my intention. So if it sounds like I'm doing that, I'm probably screwing up, and I need to back off on the stories a little. Yeah, that's a bad policy, Body Illusion. Body Illusion says my philosophy was take it, then ask what it is. Yeah, no. We don't do that. That's for sure. You find yourself on a roller coaster you didn't sign up for. Captain, you got to look like you're about to go off on the neighbors. Do you need to talk it out? We're here for you too. No, I'm not going to go off on them. And no, I feel like if I were to talk with y'all about them, I would also be talking with them about them. Does that make sense? The walls in here are quite thin. I'm sure that they are front row seats to the lifeboat every morning, if that makes sense. Well, Deaudre Gore, that's a good thing. I wouldn't necessarily recommend them. I don't think they're legit. After using them many, many times, I think they're an analog that I can't identify. But again, I never tested them or anything like with a kit or any science. I would just eat them and judge. But the effects that these would have were always much messier than like when I would buy liquid, when I would buy something that I knew was pure, something that I knew was like super duper legit. Put next to these was a huge difference. And this is going to sound glorifying, right? But real LSD, and I'm not trying to glorify it at all, but like real pure LSD feels like a straight shot of love right into your heart, which is a weird thing to say. And there's a whole lot more that's going on. That's not all that it is, right? But the way that I could tell the difference was all that messy stuff, all the crazy colors and weird hallucinations. That's not LSD. LSD comes from the heart, which is a weird thing to say. I'm not trying to glorify it, but like the pure stuff wouldn't make you messy. It's like the biggest difference. It was clean. It was like a straight shot of love. It was crazy. It was very crazy. Definitely not something that I look forward to involving myself with in the future, but something that I spent quite a bit of time with in the past. And I tell you what, I guarantee you I will find myself in the presence of this stuff again, just because of who my friends are. But I'll touch on that for a second. We talk about changing friend groups and cutting people off and, setting ourselves up for success. Why am I still hanging out with people that use this kind of stuff? Well, I'll tell you, the difference between those friends and fake friends is just that. Those friends are real friends. My friends that may or may not, be open to doing some acid, they love me. They have love in their heart for me. They want the best for me. They stick their necks out for me. You know what I mean? They lift me up when they have the opportunity. There are friends, and then there are like acquaintances. You know what I mean? And I have spent a whole lot of time figuring out who my friends are, and I know who they are. And they may make, different life decisions than I do. But I tell you what, my friends don't want to see me messed up. My friends don't want to see me on the sauce. My friends don't want to see me where they have seen me, because they've all been there for it, right? So I just wanted to say that. Don't cut off your friends if they're real. You know what I mean? You should be able to tell the difference. ASAP Lizzie is never late, nor is she early. She arrives precisely when she means to. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Don't be worried. It's hard not to think back to those moments in life that were exciting and fun, most involving drugs. However, most of us know it doesn't last and it's harmful. Absolutely. And you know what? You don't have to look back on them not fondly, because, for a lot of us, a lot of those moments were pleasant and fond, right? It was just later on that it became very detrimental, right? It was later on that it became a nightmare. But a lot of us do have happy memories, right? And we don't need to give those happy memories away. They're ours. We get to keep them, right? But understand that that's not where we want to be, right? Understand where that led us. You're not bonded over the drugs, so you won't get tempted through them. That's correct. I never did anything hard with any of these people. Like, I didn't do cocaine with these people. I didn't do. I guess that was probably the hardest thing that I did. Coke. I haven't done Oxycontin since I was like 18, so that doesn't count. It happens. It's been known to happen. Flick Fox asks, was that a slight British accent there? It happens. I wish I had a good Russian accent. I would just use it all the time. Really late, Carol. That's right. We're about to head out in like 2 minutes, yo. Oh, Captain, you really put the finger on what addiction feels like, at least for me. The feeling of love, but without connection as its source. Whoa, mind-blowing. Something to journal about today. You and me both. I didn't think about it from that perspective. I'm glad that you saw it in that light and then wrote it back to me, because now I get to journal about it too. Please hold. If Jimena's here, she'll recognize this. I'm still using it. No. I have to write this down or I'll forget. Don't feel put out. I do this to everybody. I don't just do this to my stream. When I have a thought and it's really important, I immediately stop whatever's going on and I write it down, because it will be gone. And this goes all the way back to when I was a kid and I first started playing guitar. If I would have an amazing idea for a riff and I wouldn't immediately go play it, it's gone and it's never coming back. So it's a great habit, writing stuff down as they come. Feeling of love without connection is so wild. It's so wild. I love it. Thank you, Izzy. Okay. Prolific. All right, guys. We're lucky to have you. Mocked raises a great point. There's a reason people take those drugs. If it was pure horror, they wouldn't. That's correct. That is correct. In fact, one might say that it's perceived so beautifully under the influence that it's detrimental to one's health, right? Hallmark of ADD, Captain. Thanks, Don. Good to see you, by the way. Good to see you, by the way. Not one completed song. I tell you what, put them together. You gotta spend a little time kind of assembling, right? Oh, well, thanks, Izzy. I do what I can, you know. All right, I think I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Hit that like, subscribe, the bell for notifications if you like what we do here. It certainly makes a difference. I appreciate every single one of you showing up day in and day out to hang out with me in the morning and hear what I have to say. Like, what I have to say is important. Makes me feel really good. I tell you what. And I'm being a little humble. You know, I know what I'm doing is helping people. I know what I'm doing is changing lives, and I try to stay humble. You know what I mean? I'm not all that in a bag of chips. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy that's walked a path and you know, has some experience, I guess, and is not afraid to talk about it. So thank you guys for appreciating what we do here. Thanks for benefiting from it. I mean, I don't know. I guess you can't help but benefit from it, right? But anyways, I appreciate you guys. So yeah, fondle that like button. Show up this evening, give my dad some love. I will say, I'm gonna give you a little teaser. There's gonna be another duo show coming up soon. I don't know when. We're gonna kill two birds with one stone. We're gonna do an Admiral and Me show. It's probably gonna be in the evening, and it's gonna be on a hotly requested topic as well. So keep an eye out for both of us right next to each other again soon. Just an evolved guy. Yeah, I got webs between my fingers, you know, and my toes. Thanks, Robin. Yeah, have a wonderful day, everybody. Much love.